have, oh, thank you, Sandy. I think we have Sandy filling in for Sarah. I believe Sarah might be in the car with the mayor on the side of the road. But Sandy is filling in on the Zoom for us, so I appreciate that. Sandy, can you throw up the agenda for us, please? There we go. Thank you. Okay, so basically I just wanted to jump in. I think we canceled last month because we didn't really have any agenda items, but this month we have a few. So starting with the monthly financial statement update, we are current. That's the big update. Shantae got May's out last week, so we are finally current with those. Everything is trending well, on target. Our general fund looks good. Our revenues were a little up for May just because the property tax revenue has been coming in the last couple months, and our expenses are on target. So that's all good news. I do have one fund that I'm kind of watching. It's our street fund. I looked at it a little bit more. The revenues are down and the expenses are kind of trending on target. I believe it's because of the way the Point Brown mid-block crossing grant is working. Basically, we have to spend the money up front before we get reimbursed. So we have about $87,000 in expenses and no grant revenues in there yet. So once those start coming in, it should stabilize itself, but something we're keeping an eye on. Other than that, everything looks good. I did look at kind of some of the big ones like sales tax, hotel, motel. Sales tax has been pretty flat this year. The highest it's been is 5% up, and that was back in March. And in May, we're back at 1% up. So it's been kind of flat compared to prior year. Building permits has been kind of one of those that's started off a little worse. In April, we were at negative 27% compared to prior year. In May, we're back up and we're at negative 16. We've obviously noted that the building permits have been slowing. That's no surprise. We've been in a peak for a very long time. So we're keeping our eye on that. Hopefully this summer it'll continue to get stronger, but we'll just keep a watch on it. Same with real estate excise tax. That has to do with properties selling in the city. In January, we were at 58% down. In May, we're at 29%. So that one's gradually been making a little bit of a comeback. Still though, it's another trend we're seeing that the property sales have been not as high as the last few years. So that one's no surprise either, but something to keep our eye on. And hotel motel tax has been really all over the place this year. In January, we were at negative 25%, and in May, we're at 23% in the positive. So it's been kind of all over the board. So we'll be getting, the main numbers are actually for March. So we'll see how the numbers come in this summer to actually see how our spring and summer hotel numbers are doing. So that's kind of it with the financial statement update. They're all posted online up through May. I'm sure council's been looking at those. Do you have any questions for me or Shantae while we're on that subject?
I do have one,
Okay.
And it's sort of related, well, it is related to the financials. With regards to the golf course, will we be seeing their financial statements in these packets starting next month?
So I see the John's the mayor's popping on. John, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, Catherine, I don't know right now because we haven't seen the first P&L. Supposedly, I am supposed to see it next week. So we don't know what type of form we're going to get. And with that, then we're going to put together something to present to the council. I just don't have what the form is going to be. And then we're also get feedback from the council exactly what you guys want to see. Our first month, they've already let me know that it's probably going to look better than it typically would, because some of the new stuff got moved, didn't get in the first month and the second one. But my plan is that I'll give, once we sit down, and that's myself and Angie, with Troon, to look and see what the formatting is, so we can get an understanding of what we're looking at, then to bring it before the council. And then the idea is that we'll have either, at least from a quarterly point of view, because sometimes things get skewed, and bring it before the council so everyone can see it. And then we'll post that online also. I just need to know that everything is in there in the correct thing that makes sense for our accounting.
Okay, so I guess what I'm hearing is we don't know yet, which is fine. But at some point, then we'll get them. We'll have something showing in the financial summary here for 102. Will we assign a different bars number to it at that point?
So
somehow those two systems are going to have to mesh.
yeah, so our Fund 102 is primarily the city side of our profit and loss, essentially. So the Troon financial statements are actually going to show, like the mayor was saying, the actual profit loss, because they're accounting for every single thing, all the, every line item, every sale, every purchase. So like he said, until we see what that looks like, we don't really know how it's going to be presented. The idea would be, I believe they say we should be getting them around the 25th of each month. So it's probably going to be like our financials, where we're always discussing it a month kind of behind. But the plan would be, when we have those, we would present them to the finance committee, just like we do with everything else. And then give a council update probably once a month at the last council meeting of the month, hopefully, if we have them in time. But until we have them and see them, and we'll run it by finance committee to see what you think as well, and get your input on what would be the easiest way to get it out there and what it should look like. But those will definitely be hitting this group as soon as we have them. So
okay.
Yeah.
And Catherine, I would say that's what is going to be an opportunity for us, because they're going to give us a profit and loss that you're very familiar with, that when you did that, where what we look at on our basis is more of money in, money out, and what the details are.
Mm-hmm.
So like we'll be looking at theirs will give me a percentage of what my labor was, where we don't do that traditionally in city government. So that's, I would assume that we're going to report just like what Angie talked about, and then there'll be an additional report that would be the golf course report.
Mm-hmm. That would probably get posted on our website and stuff too. So definitely want to be open and transparent with everything. We know it's an area of interest for everybody out there. So as soon as we get our hands on something, we can start figuring out what it's going to look like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions, Richard? You good? Okay. All right. So my second item is the long-awaited budget amendment number 1. Basically, all of the details are included in this agenda packet, plus it's also included in the city council agenda packet for Monday's meeting. I kind of did a high level, just point by point. I'm not going to go through every line because it's a lot. It's everything that City Council has approved as a budget amendment item since January, and as well as a handful of things that we needed to clean up on the city side due to timing. So the council items in there are, we had to make an adjustment to the Point Brown mid-block crossing, the match and grant amount, so that's in there. We got a police training grant that was added. The Dolphin Avenue speed signs grant is in there. The LTAC surplus that we went through and council awarded. The golf course management agreement costs, as well as the golf course equipment purchase costs. So those are all in there. High Dune Trail, we did have some cost increase on that we needed to adjust for. We had a few projects that Becky worked on with our Public Works Department, our water central station roof and residing, the water treatment plant building roof and gutters, and the sewer old collections building gutters and siding. So those had a few cost adjustments. On the city side, we had some airport grant expenses that were expended in 2022, but we're not getting until 2023. So we had to adjust for those revenues. Our insurance, as you know, our property and liability insurance went up 61% from last year. So we had to adjust for those, as well as another smaller adjustment for 2024 based on what we're seeing and hearing so far. So no guarantees, but Public Works ordered a tractor in 2022 that didn't get paid for in 2023. So we needed to add that. And the aquatic weed spraying, it seems like every year we have this one where it's done in 2022, but we can't pay it until 2023 because all their paperwork has to be finalized and through the state. So all of those are in there. It's huge. When you get the agenda packet, feel free. It's in the exact same format as it's always been. It's on there by line item, by bars code, by fund, with a description for everyone, as well as the big council approved spreadsheet where we're at with the projects, how much we've spent, etc. The good news is with all these adjustments, the general fund is still on target. We're at 2.574 million. So still hitting that 2.5 million that council has kind of informally adopted. Our policy says 1.5, but we've been hovering at that $2.5 million mark, which is great. So all is good. I'm excited to get these things in there, get it cleaned up. And then, we'll start working on the next one.
So we're talking about 1.5 million in adjustments. Would that be just ballpark? Because we're at 4.16 ending balance as of May. And you said it comes down to 2.574.
The actual, it's with the general fund is actually 113,000 that we're reducing the fund balance. So the fund balance that you're looking at is in the financial statements, but if you compare it to the adopted budget that we did in December and then throw the actuals in, we were at 2.687 million and we're going down to 2.574. And you'll be able to see that in the packet.
Say the first number again, 2.8.
2.687.
Okay.
And then 2.574. So it's a change of about 113,000 in the general fund.
Okay.
Overall, with all the other funds, it's about $1 million. So you'll see that detail in the exhibits if you want to take a peek.
Okay.
There shouldn't be any surprises on there. Council's already approved all of these. It's just the cleanup stuff that we had to do that you haven't seen yet. This budget amendment will require a supermajority vote because we are reducing expenses in, I believe it's the street fund, because we had some cost savings with the salaries because we haven't hired those two maintenance 2 positions. So we'll require 5 yes votes. And I'm not expecting it to get past first reading. So we will be taking it to the first meeting in July, most likely. It's a lot of information, you'll see.
And when do we expect for these to be posted so we can see them? The financial committee meeting documents and recording. I assume that's where we'll see them first.
Yeah, they get posted in the month that council approves them. So if we approve the budget amendment in July, you'll see that in the August financials for July.
No, but what I mean is the documents themselves that you're speaking of. I assume you have them already done. And yes, normally we get those as part of the finance committee packet.
Yeah, I believe Sandy.
Agenda and whatever else.
I assume we're going to get that posted after the meeting. I'll let Sandy.
Yeah, I can post them. Okay. And then I will provide the video with the documents to the entire council tonight.
Great. And that'll be later today or tomorrow, probably?
Later tonight.
Okay. Okay. And then presumably they'll be with the agenda packet
Correct.
tomorrow. Super.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions on budget amendment? All right, we are on to Becky for an ARPA project update.
All righty, so I just went through a list that Angie had sent last week of the ARPA projects, so I'm just going to go through them. I have more information on Chinook Park than anything else because that's what we're really actively going to start construction on sooner than later, but I'm just going to go in order. So capital facilities plan, that's going to be awarded to Amoresco as soon as we find out for sure if we have to insert ARPA language into that contract or not. Sarah Bisson is working on that for us. The budget for that was $100,000 and the award is going to be $98,864. So we'll be under budget on that award.
So can I interrupt you for a minute on that, Becky? We had originally put in 150,000 and 50 was to come from the general fund. So are we going to do a 2/3, 1/3 from 2/3 from ARPA, 1/3 from the general fund? Or are we pulling it all out of ARPA?
You want me to answer that one, Becky?
Sure.
Okay, I think the plan was to pull it all out of ARPA, and then in our budget amendment number 2, I'm going to reduce that general fund amount to add it back to the budget since we didn't need it in the general fund.
Okay.
Yep. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. The Oyhut ditch, that bid package is currently being drafted by Rock Project Management. We are waiting to find out when also the fish window is, but the fish window is expected to be October-ish. That project has to be done during the fish window. So project will go out to bid. It'll be done during the fish window, expected to be done this year. The budget for that is $1 million. So that's what I have on that right now.
How are the permits going?
Anne will be working with Marshall on the SEPA permit for that. They're starting to get the ball rolling on that. We talked about it again last week.
Okay, so can we tuck any of the work in under the previous work we did around from the anchor area where the work was done, or do they have to be new permits?
Most likely they have to be new permits because it's completely new area.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that Department of Fish and Wildlife and just everything with what it is ecologically, they're going to require all new permits.
It'd be nice if we could put them in under the original and save some time.
Yeah, I'll ask them about that, but I know that they've been, I mean, I think that Marshall knows that he has to get new ones, but I'll mention that and see if it's a possibility.
Thanks.
On to Chinook Park. We have, for the dog park, it's a $50,000 budget for the dog park, and I'm estimating and expecting that the dog park will hit at $34,615, so around $35,000 for the dog park. That includes the leash holder signs, the installation for the fencing, weigh stations, all those things. And Angie had said that the money that's left over from the dog park can be moved if we decide to other park upgrades at Chinook Park. For instance, if there's not enough money for the parking lot and we needed some from what's left at the dog park, that would be a possibility. We were talking too, though, that, you know, say we need like way more for the parking lot, it would just make sense to maybe put some more accoutrements into the dog park. So I'm still estimating the parking lot to find out how much that's going to cost. So I hope to have that by the end of the week. But with everything estimated out of the park, the dog park, bathrooms, water fountain, playground equipment, exterior fencing, everything all in utility hookups, an engineer help with the estimate, a surveyor to help with the exterior fencing, and everything all in except for the estimate for the parking lot and the trail. We're looking at $124,000 left over for the parking lot and the trail system to go through the park. So that's what I've got for the Chinook Park. The other ARPA project that I'm working on is the pump station infrastructure upgrades. And the bid package for that should be ready to go out in about 2 weeks. I'm just finishing it up. I'm doing one update that Ricky asked me to add, and then I'm going to send it back to Ricky and Nick this week so that they can say, yes, it looks good. And the budget for that is $130,000. So we'll send that out and see how those bids come back. And those are all of the ARPA projects that I am working on.
I also wanted to just add that we have been doing our food bank assistance program through there as well. And we are, you know, doing our monthly payments. We're all current on those. So as of May, we've spent about $8,300 in our food bank assistance program also. So I want to throw that out there. It's exciting.
There's a police vehicle too, but I think that's Jenny.
All right, any questions for Becky? Appreciate the update. She's been working hard. She's been getting so many things done. It's been great. Okay. Sarah with a grant update.
I don't have much to share from April, but I do have a spreadsheet to share. Sandy, I just sent over a most updated version. If you don't have access to that, I can certainly share from my screen. Thank you very much. What we're going to focus on today are the items in red, because this hasn't changed much from our last share. And this is because the items in red are coming due. So let me see here. I got to move you guys over to the other side of the screen. And Assistance to Firefighters 2020, this is for our new ambulance. This end date is August 22nd, 2023. Now, the ambulance is scheduled to be here on time, actually at the end of next month. They have to do an inspection, and then we will be paying out the vendor and closing out that grant program. Also, I missed one. Yes. I missed one because it's just a date notice, and that's 2019. At the very top, it says 2019 Surface Transportation Block Grant Set Aside TA funds. We are almost complete with those TA funds. They technically end June 30th, 2023. We have an appropriation from the state. This is for the High Dune Trail. So we're not out of compliance, and we won't actually be closing out the entirety of the program, but that was just the first allocation of funding. And then we just discussed 2021 Assistance to Firefighters. The 2021 Bulletproof Vest Program will be closing on August 31st, 2023. It is currently in progress. We have partially reimbursed some bulletproof vests, but really it's up to the PD to expend or not to expend as needed, because their vests are on a maintenance cycle. And so they may not need new vests at this time. They may not be able to utilize the last of those funds, and it will just be returned back to the funding agency unless they have new hires come on board during that time before August, and we can get them expended. 2022 Shoreline Master Plan Update Grant. This should be completed by June 30th, 2023. Marshall has been working diligently with our consultant to finish our Shoreline Master Plan update, and he said they're on schedule to be completed actually in the next 10 days, and he will be providing a report on that. The other two items that I want to make note of are the WCIA Risk Mitigation Grant that was added onto this list. and the Washington Association, I think it's state police chiefs. I can't remember all of the whole acronym, but that's the training for the police department, $10,000 in the police department. I wanted to make note that our active grant projects total $8,734,779. That does not include administering the ARPA tranches, 2 tranches, for a total of $1,813,000. So we are looking at about $10,548,000 that this office is administering right now and guiding our departments on. So we have like over $10 million that we are actively working on that is outside of city funds. We still have some pending grant applications. Those include the DR 4593. Again, these DRs are public assistance grants due to storms, COVID pandemic. They have to go through a whole FEMA vetting, and after they go through FEMA vetting, they go through Washington State Emergency Management vetting. So depending on what they deem allowable for these storms back in 2021, we may not even be reimbursed for like $3,000 worth of equipment because it's below the threshold for public assistance. And honestly, those are very cumbersome. Those are very cumbersome fundings. I had been utilizing them or began utilizing them when Nick Bird was on board. When we lost some staff in Public Works, it was really hard to track down documentation from the crew chiefs, but they have been trained as to what documentation needs to be included. And really it's about weighing the options as to whether it's worth all of that tracking to chase after $3,000, because as you can see, it's a very long process. But sometimes when we have extensive damage, it's absolutely worth it. Or for example, with the COVID-19 pandemic, we were reimbursed for practically all of our community meal costs, about 75%, I believe it was. And we still have an outstanding FEMA BRIC application. It's been moved on to the second round of review. This is for the 3 million gallon water storage seismic retrofit. It's about $1 million, $800,000 in funding, and then $200,000 in match. But we have not received word on that as of yet, which is not a bad thing because that means they're still reviewing the grant application. And in review as well, we have our Assistance to Firefighters grant that was submitted at the beginning of 2023 for an SCBA, self-contained breathing apparatus compressor, which we are just in desperate need of, and additional SCBA personal units. That is actually, we are matching some of it because we are purchasing some self-contained breathing apparatuses and are using that as match and notifying that the agency that we have some skin in the game when it comes to this application, and hopes that they would also replace our derelict SCBA compressor. And we also have a SAFER grant application that was submitted back in January for 3 firefighters and EMTs. So that's the update I have for you today.
Was this submitted in January of 2023, Sarah? Is this a new request for SAFER?
Yeah.
SAFER? Because we were turned down. Okay.
No, we weren't down for this round of funding. We were turned down last year.
Right.
And we've been fighting for it. Right? We actually fought through 2 funding applications and were turned down for additional firefighters. So this is the third time, hopefully third time's a charm. Brian Ritter, Chief Ritter, and I worked on these applications, and we were very confident in them that they were very good applications. So fingers crossed.
Okay.
All right. Richard, any questions?
I'm good, thank you.
You're being awfully quiet today.
Well, I'm doing more listening. I'm just trying to get better at listening.
Okay, well, we have Scott's update. Clearly he's not here, so we're gonna skip over that. He did tell me he didn't really have anything anyway, so I guess we're not missing out on much. But we do have the mayor on the line, so I'll turn it over to him to wrap us up here.
So I just wanted to give you a heads up on a couple things. First of all, that Becky, I want to echo what Angie said. Becky's doing a great job, and the dog park would just be an example of it. That our first bid that came back was significantly over what we were expecting, and we only got one bid, and she was able to look at the scope of work. We put it back out to bid. We got 2 bids and came down significantly less. So Becky is working hard with us to make sure that we bring things in under budget. So I think most of the stuff that she talked about, we're under budget. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Becky. She's making it happen. So that is great news for me. Today we were interviewing firefighters and police, and it looks like we've got a really good group that, of course, we're on first phase. But one of the things that I've been working with our new fire chief, and it has to do with how we onboard our firefighters. Question came up from the chief that with the amount of people that we actually could have enough to actually fill our slots. However, from the council point of view, we split the amount of people that were going to come on. And so he asked me to think about if we could move up the hiring and bringing people on from a training point of view. I'm not absolutely sure if I'm in favor or not, because I haven't looked at the financial. What he's hiring is in our budget, although it's spread over 2 years. So it'd be moving people up there. And I haven't shared that with Angie yet. So I just want to give you a heads up. Obviously I need to talk to Angie, that I need to get my head around of what that does to our budget, and then also get feedback from the council before I would even move it forward on it. But I just don't want anyone to be surprised when we're looking for that. And then I think the thing that I've been working with both Becky, Angie, and Sarah Bisson is just make sure that as we scope stuff out, that we're trying to do the best we can to come up with the right number. I mean, that with COVID, we really have been working on any number that we get the bid on, or when we first start the process, it comes back significantly higher for a lot of different things. And so, with the combination of 3, we've been doing a pretty good job of holding people's feet to the fire, of giving us a real number. And then if we just can't afford it, just as Becky talked about the paving of it, then we just aren't going to do it. But again, that I think that we're starting to get a handle on our contractors being more realistic of what their numbers are. And I know that both Becky and Sarah are spending a lot of time just asking questions of, do we really need to do that? And so I'm very optimistic that all the things that are on our list, that we will get them done with it. So that's pretty much all I've got. And it'll be good that we're back caught up with all of our numbers, so that we can actually work forward, and we can just make sure that we make the right decisions going forward.
So can I ask a question about the firefighter interviews? Didn't we lose a firefighter that, are you talking about backfilling one plus the one we budgeted for, plus maybe looking at the 2024 person?
Correct. Yes.
So 2, at least, possibly 3.
Yeah, that's the number, right, Angie?
So I think, I'm not sure if it's 5 or 6, but
it's 6. The number is 6.
I think we're down 2, like backfilling. We added 2, so that would be 4 for 2023, but then there's an additional 2 in 2024. So I think his total was 6.
So how many are we backfilling?
2.
2.
And then we added 2 positions for 2023, like brand new positions that haven't been filled. And then we have an additional 2 in 2024 that are brand new that were added to the budget as well. But he was telling us that there was some cost savings in onboarding 6 all at once versus 2, 2, 2 or 4 and 2. So it's like the mayor said, we haven't looked at the numbers or kind of like really, he gave us numbers to look at, but we haven't really looked at it yet. So it just came up late last week.
And what it would be is that he's got 4, but if we were going to do the 6, then I would bring it to council to approve me to hire the extra 2 early.
Yeah, because council approved those by position, like numbers. It's not just the budget. With the firefighters, we go by the cost study, which is if we hire this many, we need this much revenue. So it's definitely something that we would have to bring back to council for approval if we decided to try to onboard them before January 2024.
Right.
Yeah.
And one of the calculations would be, since we're almost halfway through 2023, does the savings from those 2 positions offset bringing those others, the additional 2, number 5 and number 6, on early? That doesn't seem like it would be a cost savings, but
yeah. And the big
I'd
thing,
like to see the numbers.
The big thing with that department too is it's not just we haven't had a person in this position. You also got to factor in the overtime, because whenever we're in a deficit with our numbers, there's overtime factoring in to cover that. So it's not just an easy, like, yeah, we haven't had these 4 positions filled for half the year. We've got to factor in what we've been paying in overtime as well.
Right, and back that out of the mix. Right.
Richard?
So my question is, as you and John look at the numbers, where is the money for these 2 2024 firefighters? Where's that at in the budget? What does that do to our bottom line in the budget?
The 2024 firefighters, our utility goes up again in 2024 to cover those 2. So when the chief and the assistant chief ran the numbers, they're saying that the cost savings from the vacant positions for 2023 that are people left or the new positions would accommodate to hire the other 2 that we haven't started collecting the revenue for yet. So that's part of that whole analysis. So we set our utility rates, if you remember, to go up each year based on how many people we have. So we're not starting to collect that utility revenue for those other 2 positions till January. So that's another factor we have to look at. It's not just cut and dry. There's a lot that goes into these analyses. Sure.
I appreciate your facility at juggling those numbers and understanding them. For me, the bottom line is we're at I think 2.57 million in our general fund, and if we hire all 6 of these firefighters instead of 4, then 2, what does that do to the 2.57 is my real question.
Yep. And council has been very clear that we don't want to go below 2.5. So we are constantly, that is our mark. So, and we're close. It's real close. We're like one big emergency away from having to go under. So we have to really look at it.
Well, and remember, that's why I recommended going from 2 million to 2.5 when the pandemic hit, because we needed that cushion. Yeah. So, yeah.
And we're right there. I mean, the mayor said it earlier with Becky's been great at not just like, okay, this is the bid, it's 20 grand over. Let's rescope it and see if we can get it within the budget. So we've been actively working on that, and it's constant. We're constantly looking at it to make sure, because we want to stay on the target. We don't want to go below. So we just need to look at it. There's a lot to consider, and like the mayor said, we don't know one way or the other quite yet because we haven't dove into it.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, any other questions before we wrap up? No? All right, well, thank you. I really appreciate, and I know Shantae appreciates your patience as we've caught up. So happy we're finally there, and we'll get back on a regular quarterly budget amendment cycle, you know, getting the financials out monthly. So she's only been doing it for 3 months. So I think it's been great. She's really caught on and got us where we need to be. So I appreciate her and all the work she's done to get us here.
It's nice to have you on board, Shantae, doing the work that we've kind of missed for a while. And Becky, same with you. Nice to have you looking at the numbers.
Yeah.
6 months and 3 months.
Right?
I know it was like 4 months in a month there. We were getting once a week. We got it down to a science now. It was nice. It took us a little bit, but we got there.
That's a good thing, right? Mm-hmm. And I imagine you're cross-training people.
Well, I know how to do everything now too. So I learned with her.
Yeah.
So I do have one question over the budget software. Is there anything that the council should know about the finance budgeting software?
That is, now that we're caught up, that is our next priority, is we want to get some budget software. Luckily it's not a budget year, thank goodness. So we have some, because it takes a lot of time and a lot of energy to get, we want to get one that integrates with our current accounting system to make it easy. So we were wanting to get to this finish line, and now it's moving forward, and what do we need to be more efficient and improve what we have right now. So we're definitely not using Access anymore. We are done with that. So we'll be bringing something to council hopefully later this year, because it's not going to be cheap. And so we're going to have to figure that out, but it's our next project.
It's funny you say that, Richard, because I have 2 on my screen right now that we were looking at, trying to get a chance to talk about them. But
so that was my question. So you guys are actively evaluating some other software packages, and you know, it can't get any better than that. You've got to evaluate, and instead of just jumping off and buying the first shiny object. So I'm glad to see that you are in doing that you're evaluating. Thank you.
Yeah, she's reaching out to other cities, and our Springbrook software is what we currently use. So she's been kind of getting some ideas from other places, what works best, and we'll go from there.
Shantae, if you haven't taken a look at Redmond, do take a look at Redmond. They have a pretty impressive, I thought it was a pretty impressive, backed up by a Microsoft enterprise system. So
we're trying to find something, and Springbrook gave us a couple recommendations that integrate with our software, because we don't have cloud, like our software is not cloud-based. So we're trying to find something that integrates without cloud-based.
Yeah.
It's a big decision. Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. All righty. Well, thank you all. I appreciate you being on today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sandy.
Safe travels.